This beautiful actor called Tom plays Paul Nelson. Paul is a grandmaster who is brought into the story because he is the only person in the last 20 years who has challenged Garry Kasparov to the point where there was a draw. And what PC, who created Deep Blue, sees in Paul is someone on the same level. And Paul is someone who sort of turned his back on chess a little bit in the sense of playing professionally and playing at that level. And I think this is the opportunity. There's like a little bit of spice that goes along with the addiction.
But there's something really special about the relationship between Clara and Garry. It's a work relationship, but it's also an incredibly close bond. And at the time when we start the rematch, it's in a period where Clara is, I think, kind of trying to separate that bond and trying to send Garry kind of out on his own for the first time in his whole life. And so as we see this moment, which is kind of the pinnacle of what he's achieving, we also see this real kind of turmoil between the two of them and her trying to bring the extended family back together for what feels like it could be the kind of the last time or the last chance. And we have absolutely no scenes together, but we look at each other a lot.
Yeah.
But we don't know if it's still in.
Well, Sarah plays Helen Brock, and it's a made-up character. And she is like IBM, the brand IBM. No, but she is the body of the mind behind the challenge of the rematch, because it's actually a very difficult character because she's so bossy. She's straightforward and she's so ambitious. What was so amazing to see is that you put so much inner chaos, so much heart, so much life into that character. So it's not just like, The Office. It's so human, and it challenged Kasparov. I think also she mirrors him. She sees a fighter that wants to win and that sacrifices a lot in his life. She does that as well with her own family, and that mirroring him is a very interesting relationship because in a way she pushes too far, but she knows, or it's that balance is really interesting to follow in the whole show. And in that sense, she is, for me, the symbol of it just gets out of hands, kind of. And she is the symbol of that in the series, the problem child. Yeah, you put it the right way. But and we have some great scenes.
We do. I'm so excited.
So we have some great scenes because we are the two women in his life. Well, there are a third, the ex-wife as well. But I mean, we are the present women in his life. Yeah. I just knew of chess. My son, he's 15 now, and he knows how to play chess. My mother actually plays, but I haven't played myself. I have seen a lot of people playing in a room, and it has always fascinated me. It's about so many things at the same time. So it's an existential game. And then, of course, when I got this job, I saw all the documentaries about Kasparov, and I saw a lot of chess games. And that was so interesting to, just to see the physicality and to see the mind and to just be with them with this game. So I find it very inspiring, but I don't know a lot about it, to be honest. A little bit more now, though.
Yeah, I think my knowledge was very basic. I knew the function of the pieces. I knew what they could do and what they couldn't do. That was kind of about it. I also think I kind of naively just assumed that it would be about learning the moves, and because these are real games that we play, just kind of looking up the moves and then copying them. But I found out very, very quickly that it's so much more than that. The magic of chess for me, it's kind of almost like sleight of hand magic, you know? It's so beautiful to watch the way that they pick up and put down pieces, the way pieces move across the board. It's like a dance. And so I then started to think of it like that and to approach it like choreography. And I think for both Christian, who plays Garry, and I, it was so important that we really gave the game and the sport the kind of reverence that it deserves, because it people who play chess, a lot of people, it's their entire life. And we wanted to respect that, and we wanted to do right by these characters that are such a huge part of their history and the history of the game. But I think I've probably just got worse since doing the show, because I think I know what I'm doing, but I actually haven't got a clue at all. So,
It looks good.
Oh, it looks great. Yeah.
I sort of like vaguely knew how to play, but what I gained was not knowledge of the game, but was knowledge and reverence for their skill. I remember watching a doc pre-filming and thinking, they're sweating. They are sweating while they are seated, because there is so much going on that is behind, like, as Tom says, like the flick of a move. And it's so elegant, and it's so brilliant, and it's so simple. Like, it's like that board looks so innocent, and then you put 2 seats down, and my goodness, does war incur. It's an amazing game. I'm so proud to be a part of a show that showcases that to maybe audiences that don't play chess. I downloaded it on my phone. Have not played once. No. Not one time. Not one.
Won't win.
No, I won't win.
She will.
Yeah, maybe she will.
No. Yeah, so Helen and Garry have a tumultuous relationship, purely because they are at odds within this game, within this experiment. And I think, I mean, if I were to give you the inner workings of Helen, I would tell you that she is jealous of Garry, that there is something within him that she yearns to be. There's an independence. There is when he opens his mouth, everyone listens. There is a ability and a skill that is something that I think within her own field. Helen has great ability and skill, but no one's listening to her. She has to fight so hard every time she opens her mouth. In fact, most of the time, I think so many women in rooms back in the 90s, we didn't open our mouth. And that's what Helen has to do. She is fighting for the ability to speak, because she has good thoughts. She has good ideas. And I feel like she watches this man with awe and with a little bit of spite. Just a touch.
I think for Paul, Garry kind of represents everything that he is not. Garry has become everything that Paul wanted to be and hasn't. I think there's a real fear in a lot of ways. I think Paul is scared of Garry's ability, but also scared of being confronted by the reality of what he has not lived up to. It was a really interesting thing to kind of play with, and, you know, especially with Orion, who plays PC, you know, he's like the man in the machine, and then Paul's this kind of character that sort of floats around and is, you know, attached to the machine, but also not part of it and its beginnings. And I think that it's actually a really incredible journey that Jan has sort of plotted through for Paul and Garry. It's not a super obvious one, but it's there. And I think that so much of it is in these small looks. And, you know, it was really incredible to sit across from Christian, who plays Garry, and we did a lot of it, and find ways to sort of interact with each other without dialogue, with just the moves that we had been given to play. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that came across, because it was all really interesting in the first 2.
Well, I'm playing Clara, his mom. So that's the complex relationship you have with your child, to how to support him, how to let him walk alone, how to be there and not be there, you know. But then she has a special child. He's a genius, and she realized that from an early state. He started when he was a child, and he was so good at chess. So she knew that she had to support that. And in this show, we, as Tom said before, you meet Clara where she kind of maybe thinks that maybe I've done my job, and maybe we could also get somebody else into our lives, like my grandchild. But also she is questioning in a way, like, was it the right thing I did? Was it the right support I gave him? And I think when you have a child that has these skills and that, I mean, he's so bright and she can't follow him, but she knows him and she can support him, but she can't follow. So she also watch a very lonely guy, and we are all lonely in an existential way, but this guy is particularly lonely. And as a mother, that is like a special thing to witness because she can't be there for him. Yeah, that relationship has been really, really interesting for us to explore. How to find the right way of being a coach, and come on, you have to run, you have to, and supportive, and then also challenge him a bit.
I think there's never a wrong time actually to tell a good story, ever. And I feel like what is relevant today, but not why we made the show, is that technology is on the tips of everyone's tongue, and it is prevalent in sort of all occupations and all ways, even how we transport ourselves around. However, I will say, like any good show, what brings you to the show might be the game. What keeps you there are the people. And I just feel like at the end of the day, and at the end of these 6 episodes, you will care so much more about the people than you will those wires and those lights. Just like at the end of the day, you will love your loved ones much more than that phone or that iPad.
We started filming this show almost 2 years ago now. I cannot remember us having conversations that included things like ChatGPT or OpenAI. We weren't talking about it then in the way we are now. It's moving so fast. And I think that I completely agree with what Sarah says, that it's about the humanity at the heart of this. But we've also we haven't really been having these conversations since we were having these conversations in 1996 and 1997. So whilst the capabilities of the technology is so different, we're kind of at the same point again. A lot of people know this story. A lot of people don't remember the outcome of the story. I personally don't feel like the outcome is necessarily what's important. For me, I think what I would love people to remember is what people went through for this. We now live with these computers 1,000,000 times more powerful than Deep Blue in our pockets. And I think that we take that for granted so much, and our lives have changed so much in the last very short amount of time that people really remember what people went through in order to do that, and at what cost as well.
It's definitely a show about humanity, with all that it means. I mean, it was what I got out of it last night watching it, that it's about humanities in all levels, and it resonates very much these days also.